Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Indiana Jones and Fate of the Atlantis. So we made it all the way to Atlantis on one path, and now we are loading back to the split here where it asks you which center path you want to go to. So we made it to this point. Now we're jumping back to do the other two branching paths because it's just not worth it, really, to start a new game and get slightly randomized puzzles from the beginning of the game to this point. Plus, it's not really worth it for the slightly randomized puzzles uh, here at the end, which I don't think really change based on which path you're on either. At least that's how I recall it. I've also changed my audio somewhat, so I want to warn you if it sounds a little different. Apologies. I decided to go on a binge of adjusting software settings and moving a bunch of stuff. I doubt it would have affected the video, and honestly, I tried really hard to not have it affect the audio either. But if you do notice that there's a slight difference, apologies there.
Deep into my eyes.
So Sophia
For
was
Pete's sake, I'm not going to hurt you.
Sophia was
Now
reading
hold
your
still.
fortune with Norab Sal.
You are a remarkable man, Dr. Jones. You possess
If I
great strength
had
of character.
reset the whole game
You are resourceful.
and played a different way, I could get a
Always eager
different
to solve life's
a
deepest puzzles.
different
I could never follow
suggestion
the
here.
thoughts of your maze-like mind.
Hmm.
So I can't follow you along the twisting path that leads to Atlantis.
In the previous episode, I questioned how Sophia would have been able to figure out that Crete was the greater colony and end up on that island. It slipped my mind that it is much more likely that the Nazis simply sent somebody to kidnap Madame Sophia, either in Barnett College or if she did fly somewhere else, they kidnapped her there. I imagine that's the more of the implication, and it's a good example where a more modern game would have a cutaway scene to show the Nazis kidnapping her. Even if Indiana Jones doesn't know that, it wouldn't really hurt the storyline for the player to know that. So first time we went with the suggestion of a wits path. Now we're going with the co-op path.
I'd rather tackle this together with you.
Are you absolutely sure?
And so what's interesting is if you go, let's go through this again,
Let's go through this again.
you'll get a little bit more dialogue.
Murad Sal is trying to guide you. He admires your ingenuity.
In case you don't know what's going on, which it definitely would make a lot of sense that some players would not realize that this is a conversation that is going to end up changing the game drastically, far too drastically, frankly.
I'd rather tackle this together with you.
Honestly,
Are you absolutely
I would
sure?
much prefer that all three paths were merged together into one longer experience, or each puzzle you run into just has three different solutions, which makes a lot more sense. And that's definitely what you would see in a modern game, is you would have three
Yes, I'm
different
sure.
solutions.
We should
You'd
team up.
have a puzzling solution.
Okay,
You'd have
if that's how you feel,
uh,
we'll go together.
you would have a fighting solution. And then you might have a talking solution often. Think something like the Deus Ex series, where to get into a building, there's often three different ways to get into a building, or to solve certain puzzles, there's often three things. In that vein, though, like, there's been 4 Deus Ex main games, and arguably now maybe there's only 1 or 2 that's really worth playing because the first 2 are too old. And let's see, when you think of like a Hitman game, which would be the next closest comparison, Hitman games may give you multiple solutions to assassinating somebody, but at the end of the day, you're still kind of just assassinating people, so it isn't like there is a talk or a puzzle solution. It's just multiple fighting solutions. What you pick here really just is more into the idea of the character. And now that we've been playing the game a little bit more, we're probably a little bit sweeter on Sophia than what we would have been the first time we played the game, where Indiana Jones as a character really doesn't like her and doesn't really believe her. Let's see. Let's get going. We can still catch tonight's clipper, which would be a clipper boat. I'll be running the show. Stay out of my way and you won't get hurt.
Don't get any funny ideas. I'll be running the show.
You make it sound so romantic.
So now we are on the team path. And notice a glitch there. That the glitch said we have 88 points out of a total of 338, where it shouldn't be that high, clearly. I think we have to go to Monte Carlo in the team path, then Algiers, then back to Monte Carlo. So let's go to Monte Carlo first. But it is also very hard to remember the order.
Well, here we are.
Let's see. I had no idea Monte Carlo was the lost city. What does Trotter look like? What makes you think we'll find Trottier here? Suppose Trottier shows up, what then? Do we want to be sarcastic, or do we want to jump to the point?
I had no idea Monte Carlo was the lost city.
Don't start with me, Indy. It's Trottier we're after.
So, yeah. When you get to the team up, you get more of the relationship, whereas in the Wits Path, you pretty much get very little relationship. And I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say at the end of the story, you end up, like, kissing the girl. Although I don't think, unlike, it is very much like the James Bond series, and in a lot of ways, Indiana Jones is just kind of the United States version of the James Bond series, where Indiana Jones gets paired up with a girl for a portion of a movie, and that's it. I also don't think we're seeing Trottier walk around in this instance, which could certainly open up some questions to deeper timeline and alternate realities, because there's really no reason, if they arrived in Monte Carlo at the same time and Indiana Jones was on the puzzle path, he would be able to meet Trottier. But if he's with Sophia, all of a sudden Trottier is not walking on the road.
But what does Trottier look like?
How should I know? I've never actually met him. We did all our business by mail.
That's so old-fashioned. Okay. To do business by mail. But this is set in the past, so it makes sense.
What makes you think we'll find Trottier here?
All his letters mention how much he likes strolling under the bright lights.
Suppose Trottier shows up. What then?
We'll just exhaust all
Bring
the
him
dialogue.
up to my room.
This plan sounds kind of harebrained to me.
Don't worry, it'll work. He used to have one of the 3 stones. If we can coax him into a seance, he might let us have it.
So she's gonna scam him, basically.
A seance?
I'll go get ready.
Alright, so let's hit this button and then hit this button and see if that resets it. Nope. So the IQ points now on the team path is fairly useless. Here we have Trottier. Trottier willing to walk around. So let's pretend like we don't know who Trottier is. We're back to the same things.
Just a moment, please.
And let's ask some questions and see if we can find it.
Can you tell me where to find Monsieur Trottier?
It's funny, he walks right behind you.
Sorry? No. But he always wears a flower in his lapel.
Okay. And since we kind of know that's the only hint, there's kind of not a reason to talk to more people. Although that might reduce the IQ points, it
Just a
probably
moment, please.
won't. I doubt you are getting any IQ points in general for talking to random strangers. And you don't get to talk to random strangers ever again in the game, so that is a concept tried once and then kind of forgotten about. Well, you do talk about some of them in Al Jazeera,
Are you Alan
Two.
Trottier?
but then people,
Oh, perhaps. Who's asking?
general people, disappear. I'm Dr. Indiana Jones. Just call me Jones. I can't tell you, it's confidential.
I'm Dr. Indiana Jones of
I'll
Barnett
just
College.
go with the same response because that's what I would pick.
Jones. I believe I've heard of you. Yes, of course, the famous archaeologist.
Let's go with a different response here.
Yep, I'm just about the world's greatest adventurer. And a conceited fool, too, I see. Out of my way.
Oops. Right, now when we try to open this door, can we walk in? Yes, we can.
Any luck, Indiana? Where's Trottier?
Let's see. I tried and the fool won't come up here. I didn't even
I have no idea where he is.
we didn't even really get that far.
Well then, get back out there.
So they draw her in a whole different outfit, and I'd completely forgotten that they even did that, because it really would have made a lot more
There
sense.
must be a sheet under here.
So we're gonna steal the sheet for later.
It's a fuse box.
We're gonna go ahead and open the fuse box
It's a fuse box.
and see. We're gonna do a fake seance, basically. Yeah, they didn't do a good job with this animation, frankly. It would have been better to use this a little bit more. Maybe this is what she was wearing when she was giving the speech, too. That might be the case,
Sophia,
but
What
they
now?
don't. They didn't use it enough.
no, nothing.
Well then, get back out there.
Alright. So you have this scene that's not used in the puzzle path at all, which it would have been easy enough to have that be
Over here,
Trottier's
Monsieur Trottier.
room,
Yes?
and investigate that and search it looking for Trottier, and then see him get kidnapped out the window by the Nazis and then start to chase at that point.
Sorry about being so rude. I do not believe your sincerity.
I may very well have just irritated him in a big way. I didn't click on him fast enough. I believe he actually comes from the direction. Yeah, he always comes from
Monsieur
the direction
Trottier?
that he left.
Yes? Hey, why don't you stop being such a jerk? Well,
Okay. So, yeah. This is weird, to say the least. It's weird because the video games
Monsieur Trottier?
aren't really ever going to be great about teaching people
Yes?
to be nice.
Have a nice evening.
Let's see. Let's just use the taxi now.
I'm not leaving without Sophia.
So, yep. The
Did you find our man, Indy?
yeah, the game
Where's
kind of
Trottier?
frustrates you at this point, and you might have felt like you made a mistake when I think intentionally this happens, or this can happen every time.
I've tried, and that fool won't come up here.
I hadn't thought about that possibility. Just drop Nurab Sal's name.
Alright. Use.
Now is not the time.
So they really wanted you to first
Over here, Monsieur
know
Trottier.
how to get
Yes?
into the room.
I just want you to know I work for Nurab Sal.
Did you say Nurab Sal? Well, perhaps you're not the buffoon I took you for. Now, excuse me while I consider this.
So then, is he gonna come back up, or do we still need to go to Algiers first? I think we may very well need to go to Algiers first.
Over here, Monsieur Trottier.
You look confused, Dr. Jones. I'll help you. But first, answer me this.
Yeah, we had to get
Why
back
did the
on track.
Atlanteans build their huge colossus?
To make themselves like gods.
To make themselves like gods.
Yes, excellent.
No reason to
Obviously,
mess
you
that
know
up.
Plato's lost dialogue well.
So
How can I help you?
that's similar. Let's see. Let's see. Follow me, Madame Sophia will read your fortune. Why can't I read that word? Come upstairs. The women's show is dynamite. Excuse me, I have another appointment. Madame Sophia would like to trade her wisdom for yours.
Madame Sophia would like to trade her wisdom for yours.
I'm sure she would. And steal my secrets. What kind of idiot you take me for?
Alright, well. We'll try this one more time, but boy is Trottier not the trusting type in this path.
Hey there.
That's not Trottier.
Sorry to bother you.
Then leave me alone.
Too close to the other guy.
Hey there. Sorry to bother
they're
you.
putting too many people next to each
Then
other.
leave me alone.
Yep. This is slow, to say the least. Throwing in a lot more road bumps.
Monsieur
You would
Trottier?
think that the Wits path would be the
Yes?
most difficult one, but
Nurab Sal sent me, remember?
Nurab Sal? Oh, eh bien, allow me some time to cool my anger.
Just a moment, monsieur.
let's see if we can talk to him.
Well, hello again, Dr. Jones. How can I help you?
Okay. Let's go with the next one.
Follow me and Madame Sophia will read your fortune.
Oh, this is a big step. I'm not sure.
Let's see. Come on, take a chance. She's right here in the hotel. You need help, pal. She's better than a psychiatrist. If that's how you feel, forget it. Let's go with this one.
Come on, take a chance. She's right here in the hotel.
So, I'll do it. Please lead the way.
Yeah, a lot of conversation there. Way more than the puzzle path. Which kind of highlights where this should have been
Have a seat, Monsieur Trottier.
puzzle path. the puzzle path should have had more dialogue puzzles.
Is he here?
Let's see. Keep him busy. I'm gonna try something. That's what I'm gonna tell her to do.
Keep him busy. I'm going to try something.
All right then. Give me a minute while I set him up.
And honestly, it kind of is in character
Monsieur
that
Sautier, I'm
Indiana
so pleased to
Jones
meet
would
such an expert
scam
antiquarian
somebody.
at long last.
This is very much
But
like that
flatters me.
first
It is
scene in
I
Temple
well
of
pleased to
Doom.
meet you.
Now
Right.
then, I need a token of power to set the mood.
So he puts the
Well,
discs
I have
on the
this stone
table.
Key. I truly believe it is from the lost city.
And see, we may have
Very
made a
good,
mistake
very
here,
good
and we may
indeed.
end up getting the
Now we can begin.
disc too
Look
early.
into my eyes.
So what I'm gonna try and do is use the circuit breaker.
The lights. What happened to the lights?
I think Narapsal is trying to signal us.
Right. And then use the bed sheet. And then pick up stone disc.
Is he trying to scare me by wearing that sheet on his head?
Dr. Jones, if you please.
Okay, so that's not enough. Yeah.
A moment of Madame Sophia's time.
Please excuse me, monsieur.
In the dark.
Of course.
Which this is using that darkness mechanic again.
Yes, what's up?
I'm out of ideas, so I'm letting you take over. Good idea.
I'm out of ideas, so I'm letting you take over.
It's about time you acknowledge the power of Narapsal.
Let's see if she can do something here.
Well, now.
Alright, so we're just gonna have
Sorry about the
Have
interruption. Let's
the
start
choice
again.
dialogue choices of Sophia now.
One moment, madame. We've never met before. You could be an imposter. If you really have psychic powers, tell me. Why was I taking a stroll when I first met Dr. Jones?
How should I know?
Read my mind, or read Dr. Jones' minds if you prefer. I told him everything.
Did he? Wow. I
let
don't
me
remember
think.
doing this, but also I don't remember we didn't get any of that, did we? I'm gonna go with the horoscope told you.
Your horoscope told you to.
Ah, most interesting. What is my greatest fear?
Let's see. I'm just randomly guessing here. If we didn't have these conversations,
You fear business competitors.
the game would have had to
Very
force you.
inspirational.
Would have
What
had
is
to
my
force
greatest
you
need?
to have a lot more conversation. You need the truth, you need money, you need nothing.
You need nothing.
Very inspirational. Now then,
I'm
how
just
many
guessing.
fingers am I holding up behind my back?
What kind of stupid question is that? The answer depends on pure chance.
Not if you're truly psychic. Don't worry, I won't cheat. How many fingers?
Well, all I can do is try a wild guess.
Let's go with 4.
4.
I am very disappointed, madame. You have failed my little test.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening.
Au revoir.
So we just kind of failed.
Turn the lights on, will you please?
It's weird to have you like fail that way, and it does seem like there actually was a chance that you would just get it randomly.
Guess I didn't pass the test.
I'll say, I'm taking control of this team.
It's either just like directly telling you that the other person is going to be
I'm sorry,
calling
Indy.
the shots.
This isn't working. Let's move on.
Okay. We could talk to a collector in Algiers who might know something. Omar Al-Jabbar.
Yeah, you
Get a
definitely
cab and I'll
are
join you.
in a weird position there where it definitely feels like
I'd better put the sheet back.
you failed because you played poorly instead of failing because you really had a low chance of success. Let's see.
Wait for me!
Yep. And if you were going to merge, now we're up to 100 IQ points. If you were going to merge your ability, the multiple paths, it would make a lot of sense that you would need some scenarios that failed straight up.
It says aerial views, 1 flight up.
One flight up, that's a pun. Obviously, 1 flight of stairs up, and then also 1 flight of flying in a balloon. And see, now we have a hydrogen-filled balloon,
It's a fine example of Algerian know-how.
and we will use that at some point in this path where it was just not there before. Let's see. And the
Hello there.
beggar is still here, but he's going to play, I think, more of a role.
A prosperous American.
Let's see.
You ever hear of
We
Atlantis?
might as
old
well
man?
just ask all the same questions.
Atlantis. Atlantis. No.
There's definitely room for a joke where somebody says, have you ever heard of Atlantis? You mean the U.S. state?
You know where to find
Or
Omar Al-Jabbar?
the city? U.S. city,
Omar
Atlanta?
is one of my best customers.
Georgia?
His shop is on the other side of the marketplace.
And see, once again, we are in weird alternate timeline where the festival now has a knife thrower
What are you doing here on the
and
streets?
a lot more people.
I'm a
the
beggar,
market.
Effendi. It is my job to
One
be.
assumes that the festival is still going on.
Today I'm offering a discount. Give me food and I'll give you a free gift.
And see,
Now let me get back to work, please.
interesting, a discount for charity.
I don't want to disturb them. They look kind of busy.
And so now you have this whole knife throwers audience, which once again just puts a lot of
They're a happy bunch.
visuals in the way of this path. And then over here, we now have a grocery store that's open. And back here, we have a back alley. Alright, so let's deal with the knife thrower first. There's not really a reason at the moment why we need a knife, but eventually we will need a knife, so let's talk to him.
Excuse me.
Yes?
He's a juggler / knife thrower.
Do you know where to find Omar Al-Jabbar?
He has a shop nearby behind the marketplace.
Let's see.
Nice knives.
Yes, they were a gift from my father, the greatest knife thrower in North Africa. I'm trying to follow his example. But alas, no one will volunteer to be my assistant since the accident.
Since the accident.
Sorry to bother you.
No bother. I just wish a volunteer would step forward to assist me.
Let's talk to
Excuse
him
me.
again. There was one line
Yes?
of dialogue we didn't ask.
I'd make a wonderful assistant.
It's refreshing to see such spirit, but my assistant must be a woman. Show business, you know.
So we've got to basically convince or force Sophia to be an
Listen.
assistant.
What?
Notice how he walks to the other side.
Ah, Algeria.
Yeah, just like no reason for that line of dialogue at all. That's weird.
I think you should volunteer to help the knife thrower.
No, you don't, Jones.
Let's see. Do it and I'll let you wear my hat. Please, it's perfectly safe. Think about the effect on international relations. Let's go with this one.
Do it and I'll let you wear my hat.
It's kind of the stupidest
I'll let
response.
you wear my fist if you keep this up.
Come on, assist the guy, will you?
And so
Nope.
we're gonna try and convince her going through all of these.
Please, it's perfectly safe.
Oh, sure. I wouldn't trust that man to cut carrots.
I mean, he is
You're
juggling
not really
like
looking.
5 knives.
Observe that superb technique.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so she
Gee,
gets
knives
closer.
make me nervous.
And so we just push her.
Oof.
Look here, ladies and gentlemen. A volunteer.
But
Now, my dear, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Which, once again, this
Just
is
walk over to the board
the
now.
Scum VM comedy being put into a action game, which
Ta-da!
which
Thank
is
you for
it's
your brave
cool for a
assistance,
video
my
game.
dear. Allow me to express my
It
gratitude by
wouldn't
giving you
make
this souvenir knife.
quite as much sense in 2021 as far as
here, take this knife before I use it on you.
as a actual action movie. If we saw a scene like this in
It's a sharp, blood-stained knife.
if we saw a scene like that in Indiana Jones 5, I think people might complain, certainly. And when you did see in Temple of Doom, like Indiana Jones kind of forcing the female lead to eat the bugs in the monkey brains, he did it much more with his words than physically pushing it someone. And when you see him in Temple of Doom cut the bridge and nearly kill himself and everyone else near the end of the movie of Temple of Doom, like he also like warns her, so he is kind of forceful there. But there's kind of a big difference between like telling someone they have to eat bugs and monkey brains versus forcing someone and putting your hands on someone. And sadly, there is probably too much of a difference between putting your hands on a male character versus a female character in movies, but that's how it goes. Like Indiana Jones certainly punched plenty of male characters and there was no complaint, and even in the 5th movie there would be no complaint around that. Let's talk to the grocer.
Excuse me.
Yes?
So you that is kind of an example of where video games might be able to get away with a little bit more, particularly because they can go cartoony and kind of break the flow and break the feeling of the atmosphere of a story a lot more, where movies only have 2 hours, so they can't go too far away. And particularly if you look at Indiana Jones movies, they are just action scene after action scene after action scene after action scene. It is 2 hours straight of action. Maybe you have like one scene of horror. Maybe you have one slow talking scene or 2, maybe, but the rest of it's all high action.
You ever hear of Atlantis?
It's funny, you just ask everybody. Like, you would think that you would catch somebody's attention, catch the Nazis' attention, just asking everybody about Atlantis.
Do you know where to find Omar al-Jabbar?
And
Omar, his pitiful excuse for a shop is down the alley here.
it is helpful, certainly, to be able to talk to more characters and have them tell you or point you in the right direction, which in the puzzle path you definitely didn't have that as an option.
What looks good today?
Today we have a special, squab on a stick, only 20 dinars.
Okay. And we don't have any money.
You accept U.S. currency?
Sorry, no.
Oh, a squab would sure hit the spot.
What's funny
Great
is he's a
peanuts,
grocer, and his cart is all like flowers and fruits and vegetable type things. So, it's weird that the item you get here, instead of just being like a pear or an apple or something like that, is a squab on a stick.
Maybe we can make a
which
deal.
Clearly they wanted again to make
What
it
kind
more
of deal?
funny. See, I'll trade you this beautiful knife for a
I'll
squab.
trade this beautiful knife for a squab.
I already have several of those knives. The knife thrower has notoriously bad aim.
Let's see.
I've got another offer.
Make it.
Let's see. Sell the jacket.
I'll give you my fine leather jacket for a squab.
In this heat, don't be absurd.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that he's wearing
go
a
away. I'll get
leather
back to you.
jacket. Now, what you can't do really is walk to the city streets in this path.
We'd better not go out there. We'll just get lost.
Like, so for every new thing added, there's a thing taken away in each path. It would be very easy to reach this alleyway, and instead of just immediately meeting the shopkeeper, instead meeting the servant and having to figure out getting the red fez and then giving it to the servant to find out where this guy lives. Like, it really would have probably taken less than 4 hours of just sitting in a writing room thinking of slight changes to merge the different paths. And here we have Potts, and he's not
Potts.
going to really say anything different at the Potts, or now that Sophia is with us and we're on a different path, so it's not really worth looking at a bunch of things. What is different is this mask wasn't here before.
Funny. Looks like that ghost we saw in your study.
That ghost was Nurab Thal.
So this is what we needed. And so we did need to come down this pathway. Let's go and talk to the shopkeeper.
Excuse me.
What can I do for you, Bendy?
Do you ever deal in antiquities from Atlantis?
Just
Maybe
go
I
through.
do, maybe I don't. Many
the
of fools
dialogue.
dreams of the lost kingdom. How may I know your intentions are serious?
I've got a PhD. Will that do? I don't know why a PhD would matter to him. I'm not sure I know what you mean. Let's go with that one.
I've got a PhD. Will that do?
You have quite a sense of humor, I see.
Yeah, honestly, that would be kind of a funny running gag in
Excuse
any
me
point
again.
and click adventure game for a character
Yes.
to say, I have a PhD, and every other character goes, so what? Or like, but then the better thing would be to say, I have a master's degree, and then run into a bunch of more characters that have PhDs. So even the brag isn't as big as it should be. But also that would hit home quite hard for a lot of people who do have useless PhDs. And Indiana Jones's PhD is kind of one of those useless ones. It's basically going to lead you to the small handful of archaeology professorships and around the colleges, and that's it. Maybe you can go on a dig a few times in your lifetime in your career. Let's ask if he's Omar
Are you
Al-Jabbar.
Mr. Omar Al-Jabbar?
I am but a humble shopkeeper. My name is unimportant.
He should just lie and say his name is Paula Abdul.
How much for the mask?
You can take the worthless thing. It's scaring away my best customers.
Okay, so we get the mask for free.
This thing is spooky.
Okay. And to just try and save ourselves some time, let's try and give the mask to the grocer.
Excuse me.
Yes?
I'd like to make another squab offer.
It didn't automatically
I'm
go
listening.
to that line of dialogue.
I'll give you this scary mask for a squab.
No thanks, it would scare away my best customers.
Don't go away. I'll get back to you.
Let's go back and talk to the knife thrower.
Excuse me.
Sorry, Effendi. One act a day is all my nerves can take.
Let's see. Was I supposed to have more of a conversation? I'm having a hard time remembering. Let's go and talk with this guy.
Excuse me again.
And see if we
Yes?
have any new line of dialogue.
I'm really interested in Atlantis.
And I really need some reason to take you seriously.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
For example, it is said that 3 stone discs were needed to open the gates of Atlantis. Show me one of those if you can.
Okay.
I'm not sure I should trust you.
Let me know when you make up your mind.
So we can't go any further until we get the stone disc. So quicker in this path, we are going to end up getting the stone disc. We're now up to 111 points. Obviously, you get some random amount of points when you do certain actions, which is a little weird to make it scale up. It would make more sense if you got one specific
We'd better not
point
go out there. We'll just get
for
lost.
every important action. And honestly, it would make a lot more sense to simply have a
You
percentage
find
happen.
Trottier and I'll do the rest.
Like, it would be much more effective if it said, in this current act, you have done 80%, 90%, or 100%. And frankly, you should hit 100% in the last action that would move you to the next chapter segment. That would be much more useful. And then have a second percentage bar that just goes, for the entire game, you've done 50%, or in this case right now, I imagine we've done at most 30% of the entire game. Instead of just having arbitrary numbers, they are trying to force a system, a point system, into a game that is not
Did
really
you find our man, Indy?
designed for it.
Where's Trottier?
Let's see.
I have no idea where he is.
Well then, get back out there.
I wanted to pick up the bedsheet first, although it wasn't really worth it. And then see if we need to use this with the bedsheet.
I don't think that'll work.
Nope. So we just
I better
need to
wait
use
until it's dark.
that and that. Also feel like there's supposed to be a flashlight. Yeah. He has a flashlight.
I don't need it now.
Yeah. So there was 2 items in this room where it would have made a lot more sense for the sheet and the flashlight to have been somewhere else. I do believe the number of fingers behind my back is random. So, I don't think that there's any other...
Monsieur Trottier?
There's a
Well,
way
hello
to
again, Dr.
beat it
Jones.
that
How
way
can I help
without
you?
just save scumming, which you probably could save scum easily and just try everything.
What do you say we get in touch with the spirits? Begging your pardon, I refuse to be patronized by arrogant fools like you.
Once again, I've irritated him. Quick.
Monsieur Trottier? Yes?
And then you just have to say,
Nurabsal sent me, remember? Nurabsal? Oh, eh bien. Allow me some time to cool my anger.
yep. If Trottier was gonna be such a hothead for a video game character, he's
Over here, Monsieur Trottier.
not really much of
Hello
a
again, Dr. George. How
hothead
can I
in
help you?
general, but for a video game character, then the fighting path definitely should have been that I
Madame Sophia wants another seance.
just punching the guy,
Well, she is a
Or
charming woman. So
pissing
I'll
him
do it.
off
Please
enough
lead the
so
way.
that you get to a fight. And I must have, in
Have
the
a seat, Monsieur
seance,
Trottier.
guessed all the right answers because at some point I did probably play the game and get to that point. I don't know if I
Is
did
he
that
here?
without using a walkthrough. I probably did use a walkthrough. So if you go with this, she'll just try to solve it that way.
Are you sure this is going to work?
Just you watch.
Okay.
Let's begin again, shall we?
What's weird is that there is a candle here.
But first, excuse me for a moment.
Let's see, I
Of
needed
course, madame.
Can I talk to you, Dr. Jones?
to have Jones do it. Let's see.
Do you know the answers to his ridiculous test?
Sorry, I can't remember a thing. Want me to take over?
Let's see.
Okay.
Go on back to the seance and I'll think of something.
All right.
I don't know if you
Give
get
me a minute while I set him up.
any different path or
Thank you for giving me another opportunity, monsieur.
Or
Do you still have the
points.
key?
yeah.
Yes, here it is.
I don't think you get different
Look
points
into my
or
eyes.
for doing it one way versus the other.
I don't think that'll work.
Use
The
circuit
lights.
breaker.
What happened to the lights?
I think Nurabsal is trying to signal us.
But you would see, it would make more sense to light the candle. Alright, let's go ahead and use the flashlight. Nope.
Does he have to wave that flashlight around? Oh, it's very unnerving.
You gotta do this in
Do
a s-
you mind, Dr. Jones?
Sorry.
Alright, so I did that wrong. I need to use the sheet first. Then use the mask. Then use the flashlight.
Oh, I feel the presence of Nurabsal approaching us.
Would have made a lot more sense to have to go to the street and find a
Well done, Indy.
find a flashlight somewhere on the street or get a bed sheet from a grocer, as weird as that would be.
Looks like we have one of the 3 stones. Let's hope we can find a way to use it.
Like, we're just not going to do the car crash element.
I'll bet Trottier
No.
got it from Al-Jabbar. Those two do a lot of business together. Let's head for North Africa and find out if I'm right.
Fine. I'll hail a cab while you get changed.
It does introduce a certain point of interest, certainly, that it would be kind of cool for games to have more costume changes like movies for some characters.
I better
Although
put the flashlight
I've
back.
also run into scenarios where a character changes
I
their
better put the sheet
costume
back.
and I can't even recognize it's the same character. Indiana Jones does establish himself as the guy in the leather hat and fedora and jacket and fedora hat and all of that. So Like if Indiana Jones was just in his professor suit, which he shows up in the movies slightly dressed like that, he becomes a little bit
Wait for
harder to
me!
recognize. Like, and certainly in modern games, you have examples of cosmetics, whether they are free or earnable in game versus cosmetics you pay for. It doesn't matter for this conversation. But in those instances in which you can change your costume, it's often very much optional. I'd also say in a lot of cases, you'll run into slightly different costumes in, I'm thinking particularly like the Tomb Raider reboot, where there's barely even really a difference. The Tomb Raider reboot did have over time some procedurally changed, well, not really procedurally changed, just over time changed outfits where her clothing was like new and pristine at the beginning of the adventure, and eventually it gets torn and bloody and with the damage that the character herself took. Right. So now we can talk to the shopkeeper and show him the disc
Excuse me again.
and see
Yes?
if he'll do any business with us, although I don't really know why we're doing business with him now that we have the disc, other than we need, I guess, the next
I'm really interested in Atlantis.
bit of information as
And I
far
really
as
need some reason to take you
where is
seriously.
the dig site in the desert, which we haven't heard in this timeline anything about the dig site in the desert at all, which would lead to the next discovery. So I guess it's important to realize that video game wise, just getting an item does not solve the whole path. It'd also be very easy for the map to the dig site to also have been hanging up here, so they would have never had to really animate the Omar Al-Jabbar's house. Like, you could have had the camel back here too, and the statues that you could have picked up to bribe the police in the desert could have been in here. So you would have just had to figure out a way to get Paul Abdul to need to have the red hat and wander around in circles and then back his way back into the same area. And I don't know how you would pull that off. That would take some creativity.
I've got this stone.
Stone, you say? Let's see it.
See, it would almost make more sense that the stone gets stolen at this point, and that would be the level of when you need the red hat and the red fez, or you follow just the pink fez that he's wearing and chase after him. And then there could have been a chase sequence here instead of the car chase sequence in Monte Carlo, which that sequence isn't particularly great anyways.
Here it is. Take a look.
Ah,
He just
a
holds it up and
sunstone,
waves
if
it.
I'm not mistaken. And the most stupendous find, Dr. Jones.
How do you know who I am?
Yeah, how?
My dear Miss Hapgood, when you're Omar Al-Jabbar, you know these things.
Then you are Al-Jabbar.
Yes, a lowly dealer in oddities
There
and
is,
trinkets at
I
your
suppose, a
service.
question as to how these stones actually work.
Let's
It
get down to
doesn't
business,
seem
shall
like
we?
there's
What do you
any
know
kind
about
of
Atlantis?
even Atlantean technology around
Yes,
them.
tell us.
Well, somewhere deep in the Atlas Mountains,
It almost
there's
have to
an
be done with
archaeological dig site.
magnets or weight or
I'm convinced it contains the remains of an Atlantean
some level of
outpost.
technology that just doesn't make any sense. Like in a modern day with more higher resolution, you would want to put some kind of like circuitry on the back sides of the discs that formed a kind of puzzle that connected with the different discs to connect an electrical signal or static electricity signal from point A to point B, or you would want to say that the stone discs actually have orichalcum built into them in such a way that only specific parts of the disc can be recognized by the spindles and the pedestals.
Whose dig is it?
Europeans, Germans, I believe.
What makes you so sure it's Atlantean?
From time to time, scoundrels appear in my shop to trade pieces they stole there. The designs are unmistakable.
So the mask you could have been
Where
wearing
is it exactly?
very well may have been
I'm
Atlantean
not exactly
also.
sure. I've learned enough to make a rough map, but it's very rough. The problem is the desert is no place for a civilized man like myself.
We'll go.
We will?
So
I admire your
now,
courage, but
instead
you'll
of
never survive the desert.
him calling the police on Indiana Jones, he's
Give up while
basically
you still have your lives
hiring
ahead of
them
you.
to investigate for her. Okay, we give up. We'll never give up.
We'll never give up.
Well then, let it be as God wills it. Come, I'll lend you my map. And a couple of sturdy camels.
And so, what's interesting here is that we already know, well, I already know that at some point I'm going to use the balloon. And I know I need one more item before I can use the balloon. But they send us on camels, which seems like that was just a whole cutscene designed to specifically highlight that they failed. Like a lot of walking and just silence here.
You've returned alive. Tell me, how was your trip?
They just, like, that was supposed to be comedic. Okay, except our camels died a mile out of town. Marvelous, we didn't find anything. I'd rather not talk about it.
Okay, except our camels died a mile out of town.
A terrible shame. Those were my last 2 camels. Perhaps I can make amends in some small way. Do you still have that mask I gave you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it right here. Why do you ask?
I'd like to trade you for it.
What will you give me?
That depends. Do you have anything in mind?
Make an
Let's
offer.
see.
Well, how about this baseball? It's been autographed by your country's Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, Lou Gehrig, now known more for Lou Gehrig disease.
I'll take it.
You've
So-
made a good exchange, Effendi.
They give you that weird cutscene. Now they give you this weird item that you're never going to see another baseball in any of the other
Hey,
paths.
this hasn't been signed by Lou Gehrig. It's some guy named Ron Gilbert.
Ron Gilbert is the guy who worked on this game and the Monkey Island series. So we need to find this grocer,
Excuse me.
what this
Yes?
guy is in love with. And what this
I'd like to make another
puts us
squab
down
offer.
is this trading puzzle,
I'm listening.
which we didn't really even know. We didn't even really know that that was an option.
I'll trade you this autographed baseball for a squab.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Effendi, but I cannot make that trade.
So you get a
Although
different
that shade
response
of white
there.
fits perfectly in my house.
So he's looking for something white.
I've got another offer.
Make it.
We might as well try and trade the sunstone.
I'll give you my Atlantean sunstone for a squab.
What do you take me for offering me some worthless hunk of rock?
And he says no to that.
Don't go away. I'll get back to you.
So this is randomized. And we need to now go back and trade it for something else that is white. So we'll just give this. Should also.
The only mark on this map is one big X.
We're gonna just basically give the bogus baseball to Omar.
Excuse me again.
Yes?
Can I trade my baseball for something else?
Which
Do
this
you have
makes
anything in mind?
this whole shop a lot more useful in this path than it was in the previous path.
Something white would be nice.
Anything else?
Make an offer.
So
Well, how about
I think there's probably
this
two.
beautiful white cane? It was once touched by Queen Victoria.
There's two things we're looking for.
I'll take it.
You've made a good exchange, Effendi.
And this definitely highlights somebody made a mistake here, having all these
Great.
different
The
icons
paint's still wet.
animated. Because you definitely had other things that could have been animated instead of just a whole bunch of
Excuse
items
me.
and icons that I don't
Yes?
think even got used in any other LucasArts game. So it's
I'd like to
not
make
like
another
they're
squab
they're
offer.
reusing these icons and these
I'm
pixel images for anything. If anything, after Fate of Atlantis, I think there were possibly no 2D point-and-click adventure games even made
Will you trade a
'cause
squab
they
for this
moved
finely
over.
crafted cane?
to 3D.
I'm sorry, Effendi, but I cannot make that trade.
Hmm.
Though it is a pleasant color.
Hold a squab. I'll be back later.
Oh, and so I think there's probably only like 3 or 4 things
Excuse me
that are
again.
the same color.
Yes?
So
Can I trade my cane for something else?
this is just
Do you have
kind of
anything
brute
in mind?
forcing it. Let's see.
Something white would be nice.
Anything else?
Make an offer.
Clearly, I
Well, how
might
about
need to.
this lovely bar of soap? It's 99 and 94 100% pure.
I'll take it.
We're probably
You've made a
looking
good
for
exchange,
different
Effendi.
shapes. Another bar of soap.
Phew, this soap smells like garlic.
Certainly would make sense that there would be use for soap somewhere else. You could have found some soap on the submarine with the laundry, which I did say,
Excuse
why
me.
would the clothes be wet? It didn't even
Yes?
occur to me that they were doing laundry and just washing their clothes.
I'd like to make another squab offer.
So I bet there's just like a long
listening.
thing, a round thing, a square thing.
Squab for this bar of soap. What do you say?
I'm sorry, Effendi, but I cannot make that trade. Though it is a pleasant color.
Hold a squab. I'll be back later.
I think we probably need to just get a different color item. And this may just work this way. I would probably program it so it's
Excuse me
scripted.
again.
So the
Yes?
first item he gets, he says he likes that colored. And
Can I trade my soap for something else?
and then the
Do you have
second
anything in
item, he
mind?
says he likes that shape.
Make an offer.
Well, how about this decorative black veil? It goes with anything.
Okay.
I'll take it.
You've made a good exchange, Effendi.
And again, this could have been like a demo.
Veil itches.
A demo section where that's why it has so many items, is that you would have just ended up going back and forth to trade.
Excuse me.
In a weird way,
Yes?
this kind of is for a point-and-click adventure game a difficulty spike
I'd like to make another squab offer.
that almost every player is going
I'm
to run
listening.
into unless they get very, very lucky.
Would you trade me a squab for this black veil?
Sorry, Effendi, I never accept gifts for myself. And certainly not in this color.
Okay, so he doesn't want
Hold the
things
squab. I'll be back later.
for himself. Although, I don't know why a veil would particularly be used by a male grocer, a male person anyways, in this culture.
Excuse me again.
Yes?
And they are just kind of completely ignoring any possible problem with Sophia having, well, clearly her necklace and her cleavage would be slightly showing and her hair is showing and she's not
Can I
really
trade my veil for something else?
following any customs.
Do you have anything in mind?
Right.
Something white
I
would be
guess
nice.
we'll just have to keep going down the white.
Anything else?
Make an offer.
Well, how about this lovely bar of soap? It's 99 and 94 100% pure.
We've already seen that one.
Well, that doesn't appeal to me. What else have you got?
A lot of dialogue here.
How about
They would kind of need
these
to just
charming ivory earrings? They were carved from the tusks
show
of a
you
prehistoric
a
mammoth.
collection of items and let you pick. And then that'd be easier.
I'll take them.
Instead of it just being a dialogue puzzle.
You've made a good exchange.
It's very
Effendi.
arbitrary that this is a dialogue puzzle. When it would have been so easy to simply show a collection of items and just have you scroll through all the items and then pick one.
Hey, this isn't real ivory.
Of course, in 2021, real ivory would not be acceptable to be sold or traded anyways. They don't even like people to sell or trade old ivory for fear that people are harvesting ivory from elephants and then making it look like it's old or trying to hide its origin by saying it's old.
Excuse me.
Yes?
I think this is right. I would hope.
I'd like to make another squab offer.
I'm listening.
And some of these things you're trading, even if they are fake, are still probably more expensive than a squab on the stick would be.
If you give me a squab, I'll give you these ivory earrings.
This gift will save my marriage, Effendi. And it's so color coordinated. Here, have a squab.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's a lot of work. That was a lot of time.
Squab, huh? Looks like a barbecued pigeon.
Squab on a stick. Which they just like the alliteration of that, obviously. Alright. So now you just give the squab on the stick. I mean, the only other thing you could possibly do is eat.
I'd rather not. It doesn't look very appetizing.
Try and eat it, but that's not what you're doing with it, obviously. Give the squab on the stick to not Sophia, because she's never an option. The beggar.
Excuse me.
See, he puts
bring
his hand
food?
up,
Here.
but you can kind of not see it
Thank you, Effendi.
because of the background.
Here's your free gift.
Right.
It says 1-day pass, Kareem's sightseeing tours.
And so that lets you then get in the balloon, which we didn't even talk to the balloon guy, so we should just talk to him, just for the fun of it.
Hello there.
If you have ticket, you see sights. If not, you don't.
Okay, so there's no dialogue at all. We just give that balloon ticket to the balloon man.
Will this do?
A valuable all-day pass. Today the skies are yours, Effendi.
So then we get in the balloon.
Looks like it's ready to go.
And you and Sophia get in the balloon. And then you're up in the air, and then there's this rope. So that's not going to help you. So instead, this is why you needed the knife, which almost certainly means that this would have been the point where most players would have been let back down by like talking to the guy, and then had to go do the whole knife throwing scene to get the knife, then let back up. That's the importance of it being an all-day pass.
We're free!
Alright. And at this point, we are just doing the same thing that we did before with the balloon, except for this time, it is landing on the different map. So they did split it up a little bit. So this is about the middle point. We're gonna try and get these guys over here, and then we'll just click, 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 and then we'll do the same thing.
Aren't you coming?
I'll stay here and watch the balloon.
So yeah, easily you could have either had two solutions: one where you use the balloon, one where you use the camel, or you just use the balloon to land on the submarine, which makes a lot more sense than trying to use a camel to go over the ocean to get to the submarine. And I think in this path we aren't even going to see the submarine,
Hello there.
because there'd
Salam,
be no
Effendi.
really reason to chase after the submarine, since Sophia's probably not going to get kidnapped.
You ever hear of a place called Atlantis?
No, Effendi.
Have you seen anyone digging around here?
We're going to try and not do too
Well,
many
I
of
have
these.
seen foreigners with trucks and equipment.
Just try and solve this.
Trucks? Equipment? Where?
Alas, Effendi, to describe that I need a map.
Tell me about the foreigners again.
Let's see. Let's ask if they're Nazis.
I have seen them. Can you imagine? They're digging holes in the sand.
Were they Nazis, do you think?
They had pale faces like you, Effendi.
There is a weird time frame here, certainly, that wouldn't make a lot of sense to modern people. There was, much longer than most people in modern time would realize, a pretty big period in which Nazis and Nazi Germany was just considered another country. They weren't just, oh, the shoot-on-sight bad guys that you would assume they were. Particularly for the United States, who was rather late into the wars anyways. I imagine many countries and many people would just go, oh yeah, maybe they're Nazis, maybe they're Germans, maybe they're just Europeans like everybody else.
What do you make of this map?
This X is a little to the south. And to the east.
Thanks for the information.
A little to the south and to the east doesn't give you direct directions. No like measurements or anything, but let's see. Here we go. South and to the east. Very possibly means that it's on this same screen, just a little souther of the Nomad camp. Let's see.
Stay here and guard the balloon.
And once again, this should just be pretty fast. I should just be able to give the map to the Nomad and get the response without going through all the conversation. But sometimes those optimizations are just not there.
What do you make of this map?
Sometimes they are.
This X is to the north. And slightly to the east.
Thanks for the information.
So, yeah, the slightly to the east and to the north mean different things. Let's see. Unfortunately, I believe the way this whole breaks down is you have to be kind of in the same screen, which that should be fine. And we're gonna land in this oasis, which the oases
and guard the balloon.
don't happen very often. We didn't see it in the previous path, but it's not really any difference. Still a person with a camel or a tent.
What do you make of this map?
And because you're using the balloon, you're not going to get caught by the
You are very
police.
close to the site. This X is a little to the south. That's about it.
Thanks for the information.
Unfortunately, in all my fiddling around with settings, nope, don't want to go that way. The X was now visible on the screen. I didn't set up the timer, so I don't know how long I've been going. So we may run into a scenario where we end this episode a little earlier than normal, which probably is fine. I think we've accomplished enough. And then we get shot at. And then we land on the
Ow,
guy.
I've seen better landings.
And see, the timing was just totally
Him too.
off on that. For that joke. I should have been ouch, pause, I've seen better landings, hit pause, him too. And that guy was just straight up from The Last Crusade, one of the Nazi characters there. Alright, well, we will leave the dig site for, well, actually, let's check our Indy points. We're at 161, but notice that the points are glitched, and this very possibly is not ScumVM's fault. It is very possible that the game itself would work that way. I don't even know if there really were save files that were an option in Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. You may very well have had to play the entire game in one sitting, which would explain breaking it up into branching paths quite a bit. So we need to make some new save files, and we'll have to be fairly cautious about that. So we'll just overwrite that save file, and I believe that keeps it all in the same spot. So I only made enough spots for this point, and then so we have one here, one here, one here, one here, and then that's it. So yeah, I guess it won't be too much of a big problem, certainly. I could just save over the same save spot. Yep. And you can definitely tell that the team path plays quite differently than the puzzle path did. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.